Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Nourish to Thrive podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about set point weight and how to find yours with intuitive eating. So, if you're not sure what a set point weight is, in this episode, we're going to be talking about the things that may impact our set point weight and how we can maintain a weight that is healthy for our body without dieting and following strict food rules. One of the biggest concerns people have about going from an extreme diet or an eating disorder to intuitive eating and having a healthy relationship with food is what's going to happen to my weight once I stop micromanaging every little thing. And one of three things can happen once you truly start intuitive eating and start listening to your body. You can gain weight, you can lose weight, or you can maintain the current weight that you're at. However, it's important to note here that the goal of intuitive eating is not to change your body or try to control what happens to your weight. And whether you gain, lose, or maintain is all a result of where you're at with your relationship with food and where you may be at in relation to your body's natural set point weight. So let's get into what a set point weight even is. This isn't a new concept, but the idea of it can sound crazy if you're used to controlling your weight via dieting. A set point weight is essentially a weight range in which your body wants to be at to function optimally, without putting your body under an extreme diet or a condition. The reason it's called a set point weight theory is that it's because it's just a theory, and it's solely based on observations. Researchers have found that humans tend to return back to a set point weight range of between 5 to 10 pounds, and this range can fluctuate and change over the course of your life. So let's say you're able to maintain a certain weight when you were in high school or college, but now that you're older, your body sits at a higher weight naturally, no matter how hard you diet. It's because your set point weight has changed because now that you're older. There was one famous study conducted in the 1940s known as the Minnesota Starvation Experiment. And this experiment was to look at the effects of semi-starvation on adult males over the course of 24 weeks. And in this study, the participants were put on a really restrictive diet, which caused the participants to lose 25% of their pre-experiment weight. After the experiment was over, there was a rehabilitation phase where they were restricted to eating 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day. And the second phase was that they were allowed to eat as much as they truly wanted. Because of the effects of the extreme diet they were put on, they found that some of the participants overshot their set point weight initially, but over time, their weight did settle back to their pre-starvation weight, which is also likely due to the effects that starvation and dieting has on regulating natural hunger and fullness hormones that does play a role in weight regulation as well, which we'll get into in a little bit. And I'm sure you've heard people say once they start a diet, they're not able to keep the weight off. Or let's say somebody's struggling with an eating disorder in which they have been underfueling for a period of time, that their body's natural internal processes start to slow down to conserve energy and hunger hormones may begin to increase. This is also referred to as experience extreme hunger. So while people can initially lose weight when they diet, if we are dipping below that natural set point weight regain is likely to follow at some point. And, this isn't a lack of willpower or the fact that you don't have discipline around food. It's that your body's always trying to achieve homeostasis and safety to where it can function the most optimally. So what determines a set point weight? There isn't just one thing that impacts your weight, and there are some things that are totally out of your control that influences where your body wants to be at. Genetics being one of the biggest factors, and genetics can even influence the shape of your body as well. Think about this in relation to your height or the size of your feet. Some people are naturally in a smaller body, and some people are naturally going to be in a larger body. Some people have smaller bones, and some people are going to be bigger boned. And this is why it's so important to stop setting such unrealistic expectations for what you think that your body should look like based off society's narrow beauty standards. And besides genetics, there are, of course, other factors such as our lifestyle that can impact our weight, such as the state of our mental health, which can influence how we respond to our natural physical and mental hunger cues. And also, if you're a teenager listening to this, you may hit a growth spurt and notice that you have this rapid change in your weight that also can be outside of your direct control. In addition, hormone fluctuations, such as changes in our sex hormones, our thyroid function, and even being chronically stressed because high cortisol can influence our weight. And when stress hormones are high, your metabolism can actually begin to slow down, and this may even lead to more emotional eating for some people because stress can blunt those natural hunger and fullness cues, which can lead to unintentional weight gain or weight loss. I do go into further detail of the dangers of undereating in episode 3, I believe it is, so be sure to check that out as I talk more in depth as to what dieting can do on a physical level in that one episode. But I wanted to explain the hunger fullness hormones, ghrelin and leptin in particular, right now. So ghrelin is known as the hunger hormone, and leptin is known as the satiety, aka the fullness hormone. And so leptin is secreted from our fat cells. So when you go on a diet and you shrink those fat cells via weight loss, leptin actually decreases, leaving you feeling like you're never completely full or satisfied. On the other hand, ghrelin is increased from dieting, which drives more hunger. And these shifts in your natural hunger and fullness hormones is what keeps your body fighting to go back to that set point weight, because it senses that starvation is happening and it does everything that it can to protect itself. And because of this, overshooting your set point weight after a diet is something that also can happen because your body's always striving for survival. If in case you're under that stressor of starvation again, aka the diet, it wants to have those extra reserves in case you're going to undernourish it again. And so if you have been through diets and feel like you can't stay on the diet, or that you're not seeing the results that you want to see from the said diet, it's not your fault. There are many different things that may not be within your direct control that keep your body going back to a certain weight. And so while you may feel like you only have control when you diet and it's the only way to maintain a certain weight, it's likely not going to be sustainable, and especially at the expense of your mental health and overall just fulfillment with life. And as a result of restricting your intake and dieting, you may feel that you're just constantly preoccupied with food, which sometimes can lead people to binge eat or lose control around food when they just can't take it anymore. One of the biggest questions I get is, how do I know I'm at my set point weight? And the answer to this is that, unfortunately, you may not even know exactly where your natural set point weight really is if you have been in a constant gain and lose cycle for a while, or if it's been so long since you've been able to maintain at your body's comfortable weight. However, there are some things that you can ask yourself that will show you that you're not at your body's set point weight. So if you feel like it's difficult to maintain your current weight unless you're dieting and or over exercising, you may not be at that natural set point weight. If you go through periods of restricting and then binging, you may not be at that natural set point weight. If you find that it's hard to listen and trust your hunger and fullness cues, you may not be at your set point weight. And if you find yourself eating out of certain emotions or eating out of boredom all the time, you may not be at your set point weight. And also, what's your physical health like? Do you have a regular period? Can you make it through the day feeling energized and think clearly? Do you have a sex drive? And when you're able to look at these signs of your mental and your physical health, that honestly can tell you so much more about your health than the number on the scale. And this is why intuitive eating and approaching nutrition from a non-diet lens can help you to become more connected to your body and increase the awareness of hunger and fullness cues, which can help you over time return back to a weight that you can maintain effortlessly. But remember that intuitive eating is more than just listening to hunger and fullness cues, and it's why it's important to understand that intuitive eating has so many layers to it. It's also learning body attunement. Listening to your body is more than just those hunger and fullness cues. It also means paying attention to what foods satisfy us, our emotional state, how your body feels after eating certain foods. Being an intuitive eater is also learning how to feel your body when those hunger and fullness cues may not be reliable. So one of the biggest tips that I have for you to be able to find the set point weight is to stop dieting, is to stop restricting. Because the longer that you diet, the further that you're going to be from understanding those intuitive hunger and fullness cues, and honestly just confuses your body the longer that you're on the diet. Now, you might be thinking, I don't know how to even trust my body because hunger and fullness cues are not consistent, and it doesn't feel like I can actually eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. And this is exactly what I show my clients how to do in my program, Nourished to Thrive, because there may need to be some relearning as to how exactly we get to this place of full body trust and attunement. Because let's say, for example, you find yourself finishing a meal and you feel physically full, but are having major cravings for something else. Being an intuitive eater and having body attunement means that instead of judging yourself for having urges to binge or eating past fullness, we may look at the meal and ask ourselves how we could have made it more satisfying to begin with to prevent those urges from even being there. Easier said than done if you still have a lot of diet rules that dictate all your food choices, which is another reason why intuitive eating is so much more than just a simple hunger and fullness diet. It's about cultivating a truly healthy mindset with food and your body so you can eat without those food rules, fear, or anxiety every time that you eat. And lastly, I did want to say that your weight is not the biggest detriment to your health. Just because you aren't at your lowest weight or aren't seeing the number on the scale go down doesn't mean that you're not a healthy person or that you can't still engage in health promoting behaviors. Sometimes focusing too much on your weight can make it harder to maintain at a healthy weight for your body because of the dieting and even the stress and the hormone fluctuations that happen after restricting food over and over. So just remember that being at your set point weight means that you no longer have to strictly manipulate every morsel of food that you eat. It means being able to exercise in a non-obsessive way and that you're able to take rest days without worry or stress about how it may affect your body. It means that you're able to recognize your hunger and fullness cues with ease and that you find enjoyment with and outside of eating. It means that you no longer feel like your world revolves around food and that you're able to care for your health without weight being the focus. And it also means that if you're a female, you have a regular and healthy period. I also have a podcast episode on this as well. So if you're a lady and you have a missing period, be sure to check that one out too. If there's anything that I want you to get from this is that weight may not always be in your direct control, and that's okay. You have to ask yourself if you want to be fighting with your body for the rest of your life and risk how this may impact both your physical and mental health, or if you're going to be open to truly finding where your body may naturally sit at without dieting and being a true intuitive eater. So as a side note, this was not easy for me to accept when I started to eat more food to fully nourish my body, but I knew that I couldn't continue living the way that I was and be truly healthy or happy. I also accept that my weight may change over time as a result of this, but I no longer feel like a slave to dieting and I never feel the urge to binge, which is so much better than being restricted with food for the rest of your life. And with that, I want to thank you so much for listening today, and be sure to rate and review the Nourished to Thrive podcast because it's what keeps more and more episodes like this coming your way and is a huge thank you to me as well. I love and appreciate all of you, and I will talk to you again soon.